Welcome to another episode of Non-Toxic Conversations. I'm Sam, your host and integrative health practitioner at Balance Friends, and I have a wonderful guest here with us today, Christine, who specializes in holistic home building. So I think she's going to have a lot of really great information to share with our community today, from mold to toxic-free tips in general. So welcome, Christine. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. There's lots to talk about on this topic.
Yes, I agree. Can you tell us just a little bit more about yourself, your background, and then just what you do and how you're helping your clients to build more toxic-free homes?
Yeah, unfortunately, it is a prevalent issue. Even the EPA estimates at least 50% of homes have some level of mold. I think it's much higher than that in reality. But water damage, toxins, construction defects are just becoming more and more of an issue with our construction standards. And I'm really, really adamant that homeowners just need to know exactly what they are getting into, whether they're building a custom home from the ground up or they're purchasing a flipped home that someone went in and renovated, or if they're getting a production home, which are homes in these like master plan communities that are usually built in about 4 to 6 months. So I am very big on almost conformed consent in the home building space. And unfortunately, there's no one doing that. And it's the most expensive investment that many of us will make.
Yes, I love the point that you just made, because really what I personally believe as well is that your home should be like your safe space where you get to control more so what you're coming in contact with on a daily basis. You know, it should be a place for healing and a place that you enjoy and a place where you can feel safe. And you're exactly right. It's one of the biggest investments you ever make in your life. And I mean, I personally have had several clients that have struggled with mold toxicity, and they get into these renovations and it feels like a lot, and then they are looking for, again, a way out. So I feel like maybe your expertise is there to just get it right the first time, right?
Yeah. And I think everyone has that intention going into it. You know, I don't think that there's so many issues in homes due to like contractor malice or negligence. It's really an issue of you don't know what you don't know. And, you know, I'm here in Southern California. I'm a licensed contractor, and I've seen the good and the bad, and was making a difference of maybe 1 or 2 homes a year, renovating and building. And there's just a very big need for consulting on projects all over the US, which is what I eventually transitioned more into doing. And I don't get a ton of pushback on the builder side of things when I'm integrated into the project, surprising to some. It's because also some contractors don't know what they don't know when it comes to their clients' like expectations of what a healthy home is.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that makes total sense. I personally have never built a home. The whole process does sound intense. So I can see where, like, okay, if you're going to build a home and you want to do it right, call Christine because she will help you every step of the way and just really help protect us. Mold, I know, is just only one thing that you will be on the lookout for. I personally live in a home about 3 years ago now. And I have a really difficult time detoxing mold due to some genetic things. But it's crazy. Like my husband and I, we've both been exposed to the same thing. His body can naturally purge it way better than mine can. I instantly, with mold, my body just like holds on to it. I start getting like sinus congestion, mood swings. I feel fatigued. I've gotten like rashes and acne on my chest and back. It's never a good experience, but I've had mold toxicity twice in my life so far that I know about through lab testing and stuff. I'm sure I've had other exposures, but yeah, when we moved into this home, I was totally not planning on doing a bathroom renovation right off the bat, but we ended
Okay.
up with a new beautiful bathroom because sure enough, our shower was leaking. And then
How
I
did you
feel like,
discover that?
well, so I started to see it go in the floor. And then I was like, that floor looks different. I'm like, oh yeah, it's no good. I don't know. But anyways, I saw it go under the floor and I'm like, that looks different. Like that looks suspicious. And we pulled it up and then one thing led to another. And I think you realize these mold issues are bigger than you realize. It ended up being all in our shower. We like behind the walls. Like it's like they didn't use proper waterproofing or something when they built it. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, so this is a good example, and we can kind of talk through like maybe if you're willing to share like your experience, because most of the time someone is either renting a home, they are purchasing an existing home, that's like move-in ready. Sometimes they're purchasing a flipped home, which is like maybe an original type of home, and someone, hopefully a contractor, came in and upgraded everything, or they fall into the category of doing like a new build, custom new build. So it sounds like you had purchased like an existing home, beautiful, ready to just like bring your toothbrush and move in. And so during that process, there's a lot of vetting that needs to be done. You have your realtor, you have your home inspection, but some clients don't know, and if their realtor or someone is not sharing with them, like what kind of due diligence and inspections and vetting can you actually do? And in some cases, it's pretty standard, just do a home inspection. But can we also do a mold inspection? Can we do an inspection that's using a thermal camera, which a thermal camera is showing temperature variances behind the walls. Wet material conducts temperature different than dry material. And so a thermal camera inspection can be really telling as well. So I'm curious what kind of inspections you had when you purchased that home, and did any red flags come up with this shower during the inspection?
That is such a good thing that you brought up because I was going to ask you about that. But like, I think we all believe that just a general home inspection is good enough. And then we get into our homes and then we realize, no, that wasn't good enough. And we didn't know that there was other options. At that time, I really never even considered having like a mold evaluation at all. Also during that time in my life, I was pregnant and I also have my toddler. My kids are 16 months apart. So I feel like I was still in this like I wasn't making a lot of decisions. I feel like I wasn't thinking as clearly as I could have. And I was really leaning on my husband to make a lot of the decisions with the home. I would felt like I was just barely keeping my head above water. So we just knew basically we handled a lot of it on our own, but had everything ripped out down to the studs. Everything was replaced. That's how we went about it and put waterproofing down that we realized wasn't there before, and made sure, we have ventilation, we have good quality air filters, but that's like how our process had went.
Yeah.
But I've also seen you on your Instagram, you also have products that can really help us or that you recommend that can help us detect, like even if there's a leak that, yeah, we just don't know that these things are there. So I'm so glad that you're advocating. I'm already learning so much.
Yeah, there are definitely things that can be done with, even if you are already like living in a home. And I try to be very mindful. Decisions should not be made out of fear. Like I want to give information and education, but not have it spiral and now everyone's fearful living in their home. Like if you are healthy, you are thriving, your kids are thriving, like that is a healthy home. But if there are issues or someone's feeling ill and there's testing and mold is an issue, then further investigation needs to be done to get to the root cause. But I think homes also are heavily lacking like monitoring and safeguards, and like we have no data about our homes other than the thermostat. Like, what is going on with our indoor air quality, our carbon monoxide levels, particulate count, CO2 levels? Like, there's a lot going on in our indoor air. And so monitoring will be
cut you off, but it just reminded me, we also last weekend detected a gas leak. Like, we had no, like, you just don't know these things are happening. My husband just happened to smell it. I mean, it was a small gas leak, but
yeah.
still, like, how long had that been going on, like, in our basement? So yeah, you're right. We just have no way of knowing what is really going on in here.
Yeah. And there are code requirements that we do need to have, like smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, but that's up at our ceiling. Like, one good thing would be to have like a carbon monoxide reader that's like adjacent, right on your countertop next to your gas stove. If you have a gas stove, like, that's where we want to know if there is an issue, not by the time it gets all the way up to our 8-foot or 10-foot ceilings. So carbon monoxide detectors, radon is also a big issue. It's colorless, it's odorless, and can cause like big issues in the lungs, and can lead to lung cancers and other issues. So radon, CO2 is another one, particulate count. So that has to do with like indoor air quality, but also we want to be monitoring our plumbing. We build these homes and then we throw a bunch of water lines all throughout the walls, and we don't know if anything's going on before it's a bigger issue. And so they do have whole home leak detecting devices that go on your main water line, and they will alert you on your phone if there is a small leak, if there is a very big leak, and it will automatically shut off the water. So something like that is monitoring the plumbing, that can be done even after you move in, or if you are building new from the ground up.
Oh, that is so helpful. And where do you get something like that? Or we just can send you a message and
No,
you'll
so they have, I do have some in my Amazon storefront. A good like residential model would be like a Flow by Moen. It is a smart device, which I don't typically love for our spaces, but I think the benefits outweigh the exposure. And it does give you some great insight daily. It is doing what's called a micro leak test. So at like 2, 3 in the morning, it will run a leak test and give you this data every day about the plumbing in your home.
That's amazing. That I definitely need that, because also when we moved in, you're just like trying to make it pretty and you're painting and you're just trying to make it your own. And I put this design up on this wall. A few days later, guess what? We hit a pipe. We had a leak in here because one of the nails went right through a pipe, and we're like, wow. But of course we didn't know until later on, and it had got onto the floor and it was a whole thing. So that definitely sounds very useful for anybody. Like,
Yes.
because you're right, but then these little leaks, they just spiral from there, and the water is just gets everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah. And mold isn't always a result of like a catastrophic flood, hurricane. Like, it could be these small undetected leaks that just go completely unnoticed. And if that had been more of like a pinhole type of leak instead of like flooding down out of the wall, you may never have seen that, and it could still be leaking today. And our plumbing in new construction homes are going to be PEX, which is a plastic versus a copper. It's more cost effective to install. And that plastic is susceptible to pinhole leaks by hanging a picture, by just wear and tear. There's also fittings. Like, there are things going on behind the walls, and we got to have eyes behind the walls.
Exactly. I actually didn't know that the pipes were being made from plastic now. That's interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing that we had talked about briefly before this is, I think, and I've heard some of my clients say this to me, that if they're building their home brand new, they just automatically think that there's not going to be toxins, or that there's no chance that there could be any mold. Can you speak to that, or what has your experience been with the new homes specifically?
New homes are a challenge to get right if you just simply leave it in the hands of the builder. And you'll hear some say, oh, we don't build them like we used to. Older homes are better. And the reason that there's that thought is primarily due to the quality of materials. Old homes had like forest grown, really dense lumber. Every cabinetry, baseboards, doors, casework, it was all solid wood.
Mhm.
Now today, homes are built with lumber that's much softer. Baseboards are
Plastic pipes.
plastic pipes that are not going to last 100+ years like copper. Baseboards are essentially MDF, particle board. Like if you get baseboard wet, it turns into mush. And so there's just cheaper materials used, just due to the cost of building homes today. And building codes don't do a ton to protect our health. They are great for structural integrity and energy efficiency, but they're not doing a lot for occupant health, which to me is what makes a healthy home. A good example of that is lighting. Building codes require LED lighting, which our eyes react to the rapid flicker. The color temperature is not like full spectrum. Incandescent lighting versus LED lighting, that has been a transition into a negative impact on our health.
Oh my gosh, yes. You're just like blowing my mind. Yeah, there's so many things that, even being a homeowner that never crossed my mind. I'm very well versed in health and all those things and toxins, but I really didn't know really what we could do to protect ourselves. And I also didn't know, you speak about these regulations, like I'm so thankful you're here today because when it's kind of like when you go in and you have a symptom and you ask your doctor what's going on, and then you ask no other questions and you just take whatever it is that they recommend, and you don't ask any other questions because you don't know that you were supposed to ask any other questions. I feel like you are kind of doing the similar thing, like advocating for asking those questions in your home space. And really, I think it will help people to get to the root of some of their health issues if you can build your home and keep it healthy really from the beginning. So I think you just have such a big job to do educating, and I think it's just so important. I wanted to ask you, you said something about the smart devices. Are you referring to like the EMF exposures?
Yes, so EMF exposures is definitely an element. There's a lot of smart homes and the gadgets and the oven that preheats itself and the dishwasher that turns on and the smart thermostat, the smart doorbell. Like we have become bombarded with these exposures to all of these Wi-Fi and smart devices in our home. And if we could just get back to the basics, like a just standard light switch, standard dishwasher, and these appliances, if you can live without these smart devices, will lessen our burden and our exposure to EMFs. There are also a lot of systems like the camera doorbells, security systems, thermostats, TVs that can be hardwired with Ethernet cable, and that is not using Wi-Fi. That is hardwired, and you also can use a router that is a lower EMF router. So yes, going to, I guess, more of an unsmart home and just having more of these basic features that are either hardwired or not smart functioning, that can definitely help with our exposure.
I definitely believe that. And the EMF realm is really my next area where I want to do more research. And I'm starting to make some changes in my life accordingly, because really with the at-home lab testing that we offer, we see clients all over the country. And let me tell you, there is chronic stress, chronic anxiety, and we need to really make some changes in our life to remind our body that, hey, we're okay. Like, we're not under attack. Like, let's just protect ourselves. And and get more grounded. And like you said, let's go back to the basics. It's a big part in starting to, I think, to feel good again.
Yeah,
So
and especially for our children, like if you have a child who's at school each day, that school is going to have LED lighting, most likely. There's going to be Wi-Fi extenders. And so they're spending, and same with adults who are going into the office every day and they're maybe working in like a high-rise building. There's a lot of exposures there and fluorescent lights. Like, the best we could do is at least make our homes a safe space to heal, calm our nervous systems, get rid of like these rapid flicker LEDs and these exposures. And same goes with mold as well. Mold is not always in your home, but it can be in school or in the workplace. And so we want to come home and allow our bodies to heal. This is the space that we're sleeping in. And so we should be able to like heal and recover in our homes.
yes, I totally agree. So we talked about mold. We talked a little bit about EMFs. Is there any other toxin that really comes to mind with the work that you do?
Yes, it is like a full home approach. And I do always like to start with like, what is the hierarchy? What is like the number one priority? And for a lot of my clients, about 90% of them are coming from prior mold exposures, or their children are very, very sick. Most of the time, the priority is like water damage avoidance, mold avoidance. Then next might be EMF mitigation, clean water, filtered air, and just having all of these like within our home. But most importantly is really having clear maintenance and like leak management, because it's really not just about like selecting non-toxic insulation or no VOC paint. Like, none of that is going to make any difference if we're not keeping the water out from the exterior. We don't have leaky windows or a leaky roof. Basement isn't leaking. So we want to have these safeguards in place that could be as simple as like a leak pan under the dishwasher or a leak pan under the washing machine, so that we have these safeguards in place that if there is ever a small leak, that we would get alerted of it before it does some catastrophic damage.
Absolutely. I love that. What great tips, honestly. So can you tell us a bit more on how people can reach you and work with you? Because honestly, they need to. And the next time I run into something, you will have a message for me as well.
Yeah, so we do consult on projects all over the US and Canada. Ideally, we are working from the ground up, doing like a custom new build, because that is going to lead to the best success. When doing any other type of building or renovating, we don't have full control over all of the details, the architectural elements, the building material selections, and making sure that those line up with your expectations, because a lot of construction issues simply come from unmet or uncommunicated expectations of like, when this is done and I move in, I am expecting a home with like safeguards, no moldy lumber, drywall that's not going to grow mold, whatever those expectations are. And we help you understand what those look like. We've got to be able to communicate that to the design team, to the build team, and just make for some really like smooth sailing during construction. It shouldn't feel chaotic and stressful. It shouldn't. But we got to get all of those expectations documented and really safeguard this emotional investment into building a home, financial investment. And we just don't want to see any more building failures when we don't have to. So through our Instagram, we take one-on-one applications, and then we just see, if it's the right fit for us, and make sure that we're at least setting you up in the right direction so that you know what you're getting into. Because not everyone is doing a custom new build, but we want to help everyone that we can understand what they're going to be getting at the end of purchasing or building a home.
Absolutely. And then can you remind us, what is your Instagram name, just so we can easily find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Holistic Homes by Christine. So the by Christine, and you can find kind of free information on there. Try and do our best to get some good, free, helpful content out there. But really, a healthy home takes like a deep dive, team collaboration effort, and so that's where we love to work most.
I love that. And I mean, it's very similar to getting to that deep root cause issue in the body. You didn't get here overnight. It's
Yeah.
a process, it's a journey, but I think it's all about having the right people in your corner to get you across that finish line in the best way possible. So awesome. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd want to add before I let you go?
I think that's it. I think just the awareness, if everyone could just kind of think about their current space and just get some better information about the home that you're in, the home that you're going to be building. We got to have a good understanding of how to maintain our homes to keep them healthy.
Absolutely. Well, I'll be checking out your Amazon storefront. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this information really finds the people that need it the most. I love the work that you're doing. There's a true need for it. So thank you so much for being here. And listeners, thank you so much for tuning in today. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. See you next time.